Yeah, it's
Terrible.
That's why I had to stop because
Terrible.
I know what it's like. I'm like I can't do it.
figured I could
not a
swallow
snack.
half a cup, and I got half a
Like-
cup, and I drank a quarter of a
Your
cup,
guts
and that was
are-
all I could do.
Which is why I'm doing Coke.
It's like weak, dirty water. No.
Well, there's some bourbons out there I can compare it to, though. But I don't drink those. Either.
Just from what you've heard.
All right, we're ready. Let's get back at it, Dr. Williams.
Okay, board members, the next applicant group appearing before you is representing the Soaring Eagle Academy. They anticipate locating a school in Pitt County with a projected enrollment of 180 students in grades K through 5 in year 1, 220 students in grades K through 6 in year 2, 260 students in grades K through 7 in year 3, 300 students in grades K through 8 in year 4, 340 students in grades K through 8 in year 5, and at which time they will be at capacity. The LEA has not submitted an LEA impact statement. No due diligence has been requested. The board has not requested any special items at this time. This applicant group is not a repeat applicant. They also have not partnered with an EMO or CMO or received assistance with their application. The application has been deemed complete.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for the opportunity to come to just stand before you on behalf of the Soaring Eagle Academy. My name is Dr. Melissa Grimes. I am currently serving as board chair for this application. Before I get started, I would like to introduce the people that I brought with me. The majority of my board was able to come. For that, I'm very glad. So as I call your name, if you will stand. Terry Baker. Mr. Donnie Phillips.
Anyone that's a board member can come sit up front.
Yeah, if you want to.
If you would, once I call your name, you're welcome to come if you would like to sit here. Miss Judy Gidley. Mr. Roger McCoy. Miss Linda Harrell.
Right, yeah.
Miss Dara Leonard. And we do have another person, community person that came to be along with us, and her name is Ms. Haddon. The other two board members were not able to come. One had recently had surgery, and the other had prior engagements. I thank you again for the opportunity to stand before you. I'm sure you've read the application, and when we got back the rubric, we went through the rubric as a board, and anything that the board pointed out. We thank you again for the opportunity for a 2-page summary to be able to speak to those things. And we believe we did a very good job of, speaking to anything that we read in the rubric. We appreciate that because that's one of the things the board is about. We take that we hear and we go back and we talk about it as a board, and we make any kind of adjustments or that kind of thing, or explanations, and that's what we did in the process, and I think you do have that document before you. Now, I'm perfectly able to read it, but I seriously don't think you would like me just to read it since you already have it. Again, we just think we are very uniquely qualified. Many of the people are from the community, and those who may not currently live in the community live very close to the farmer community and have ties to the farmer community as well as I do. I worked in the Pitt County school system for more than 16 years in various capacities. Started out as a bus driver, and I was able to work my way up, and until I transitioned and had the opportunity, as I continue to go through education, to go into the charter school setting, which is nothing disparaging on the traditional education system. I just believe in choice. The other people in the community, they believe in education. They believe in the opportunity for students and parents to be able to have a choice, and that's why they're here. They have given their time. They are uniquely qualified. They bring many strong, they bring a lot of strong characteristics to the board that will be needed to move a school forward and to run a school. They're not going to speak, and if you have questions of further clarification or would like to ask questions, I look forward to being able to answer any questions you would have of me.
I have a question that I'm just trying to work through on the
Sure.
education plan. You start off and you talk about direct instruction, but then there seems to be a mixture of a lot of other things kind of going on in there. And so I wasn't really clear as to what the education plan's going to be, because there seem to just be some things that, if it is, direct instruction based, how are those other things going to meld in there? And I don't want to get too far outside of clarification,
Sure.
but I mean, I guess my clarification would be, is the main education plan going to be involved around direct instruction?
We will use the North Carolina Standard Courses Study, absolutely, to be the main driver. But yes, direct instruction. However, I currently teach. I've chosen to go back into the classroom because I want to make sure I'm current, knowing, dealing with all kinds of students. And direct instruction, in the current education field, you cannot just use one thing. And to say that we would exclusively do this, then this board would expect us to do that. That's why I gave other things, because I find that as I teach every day, what may reach some does not reach others. And by putting as many different kinds of instruction in the plan, that would give us, the ability to work with students in what they need, and also the flexibility, because you do want flexibility. Once you see the kind of students that come in your building, you're going to have to adjust. You always have to adjust according to your student population and the needs of the population. So the plan was written with that in mind, to be able to have as much flexibility as possible. But yes, absolutely.
When you say direct instruction, are you talking capital D, capital I, or little d, little I? So are you talking about the programs of direct instruction, or are you talking about instruction that is directly delivered teacher to student?
Little d. Little d. Not a program. So thank you for making that clarification, because you're absolutely right. Little d, teacher. Of course you're going to use all the other pieces, your technology, those kind of things to help drive that instruction for students. But currently, I do direct instruction, and it works. It absolutely works. And children that come in at various levels, you have to be able to be flexible enough to be able to work with them, especially if you look forward to them being able to move forward and achieve. And that is the goal. Absolutely, that's the goal, for students to be able to achieve.
Also, I wasn't sure if the facility and transportation budget was sufficient. I don't really know if that's a clarification question. I felt like that, it was just probably wasn't sufficient of a budget there. And then also, and I guess this is more of a question, you basically say in the application you want to serve 100% at-risk students. What was the board's thought of why you didn't want to use a weighted lottery to ensure that you would have 100% at-risk students?
If you would say the question again, because I'm not sure of.
Sorry, I kind of mixed a comment with a question, so I'll ask it.
So,
In your application, you said you wanted to serve 100% at-risk students. But then you chose not to use a weighted lottery where you could have weighted your lottery to ensure a large number of at-risk students. Why did you make that decision?
we didn't want to put any limitations on the school. The school plans to accept every student that applies. And traditionally, you think of at-risk as, students who are exceptional children, high socioeconomics, those kinds of things, and some others as well would traditionally be what you would call at risk. But in this day and time, students, all kind of students, I don't care how much money you have or don't have, you find at-risk students in every area. So we didn't want to put restrictions, and I felt that a weighted lottery would restrict. The school's expectation is to serve every student that comes into our building according to when they apply.
I've got some questions about, so there's a lot of talk about the A-plus curriculum. But I don't see where you are associating with those people. So are you planning to become an A-plus school? Then later on it says something about STEAM. I'm a little confused about the focus of this school.
Sure. STEAM, it's STEM plus the A meaning arts. A plus is an arts program. I have been trained in A plus, and much of what they do in A plus is what students do anyway. Again, frankly, when you put specifics in like that, then what happens to the ordinary mind, it goes there, and you're held to that. And we did not want to be just specifically held to that. A plus, yes, we will use A plus, absolutely. A really great program. I've been trained in it, currently using it in my classroom now. And we are looking to partner with them and in implementing maybe some of the things that they do. But not necessarily all of the things that they do, but that's also, what happens with arts. Because much of what A plus does is it teach you how to incorporate the arts in your teaching, how you teach your ELA, your language, your science, your social studies, different in various ways. And I felt that the A plus program would give a guide, if you will, to being able to help educate the children, but the arts as well. And the school is a STEAM school, so A plus, by being a STEAM school, which is what the school is, and A plus can be a guide. And we're looking and studying more and seeing what parts you want to do with anything. A part of what this board has asked for is innovation. Innovation comes by many times looking at different things, putting them together, and that which works in with your clients. And so that's why I did not specifically put that A plus program in, but we do have that option.
Okay, you keep saying you don't want to
Sure.
get tied down to one thing. One of the things that we have to be able to do when we read these applications
Sure.
is we should be able to visualize what's the school going to look like. What's school going to look like at this place for these kids? And because you won't commit to anything, it's kind of like a toss-up.
Well, if you will allow me to come back and respond to that. It's not that I won't commit to anything, because in the application, we have committed to the school being a STEAM school. That's what we committed to, and that's what the Soaring Eagle Academy is, and will be a STEAM school. And arts is a part of STEAM. That's exactly what it is. So that is the commitment for the Soaring Eagle Academy. Now, you asked a question about A plus. We're learning from A plus, and I'm working in it. And as we see the things that's valuable for the school, that may be something we move into. But we can still do the arts and use the current standard course of study for the students, and it be a valuable plan. So the commitment is the STEAM program for the school.
See, where I'm confused is it doesn't state that anywhere in your vision or mission that you're a STEAM school. You talk about it more in your educational plan where it's just, to me, it's just not clarified and clear that that's your focus.
Well, the mission of the school is clear. It's to empower students. And educationally, that's what we will do, empower students through education. Now, there was limited characters that we could use in doing the vision. We felt that that was better talked about in the plan, what the school would do. But the vision of the school says what we would do, empower students. And we felt that it was clear.
Further questions, clarifications? I had a question. You all are gonna have a finance officer?
That currently is
In the transportation staff, or would those be bus drivers?
correct, part of it, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I felt like there were some questions on the budget, but again, these are more interview type questions. I think my biggest issue with the application is all the things that you all are asking. If we have to work this hard to understand, it's not ready for a full interview, in my opinion. And I had the same kind of concerns, and a lot of what came up that I think that external evaluators, the commentary on the external evaluators was kind of similar. So when you see a pattern there, I'm inclined to be in favor of not moving it forward.
Motion?
I have a hard time
No,
supporting this.
I'm not gonna make a motion.
I have a hard time supporting this because I just felt like it was, there just needed to be more thought put into it, it was vague in a lot of areas. Like some of the policies weren't listed out, it just said we will have a grievance policy. So I'm a little bit concerned that all the thought and planning that goes into an application wasn't as strong as it should be.
Ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'm ready to.
I would move that we do not move Soaring Eagle Academy forward to interview.
I would second that.
Okay, any further questions or discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, motion carries. So I'll take a motion from Ms. Cheryl. You want a motion to the full board?
I would move that we do not move Soaring Eagle Academy forward for interview.
Second.
Ms. Kroger, second. Any discussion or questions from the other committee? All right, all in favor? Okay, motion carries. All right, thank you. We will potentially see you again. All right, this time we're gonna keep right on moving with Beam Academy. Ms. Kakadelis.
All right.
Okay, members of the board, the next applicant group appearing before you represents Beam Academy, which proposes to locate in Bladen County. The projected enrollment is 220 students in grades K through 4 in year 1, 264 students in grades K through 5 in year 2, 308 students in grades K through 6 in year 3, 352 students in grades K through 7 in year 4, and 396 students in grades K through 8 in year 5, at which time the school will be at capacity. An LEA impact statement has not been provided by the LEA, and no due diligence has been requested. The board has not made any special requests at this time and is also not a repeat applicant. The board has partnered with Torchlight Academy Schools, LLC, and its application has been deemed complete.
Thank you for coming forward, and you can introduce yourself and the board that's here.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Tyrone Tucker. I'm the board chair for Beam Academy. I'm a minister community activist, a longstanding 30-year mentor with at-risk youth department.
You're fine.
And, you know, we, as a board, we consider the agriculture component to be a great tool for learning. So we would like to add to the charter school literacy, agricultural literacy for the youth in a rural area that we're in. Bladen County is a very rural area. And we just figure, we believe that the agriculture piece component would be a great learning tool to, for the children. We have a board, 5 members, myself. There's only 2 of us present, 3 couldn't make it due to work and illness. But the 3 that couldn't make it are Lillian Graham. She's a retired educator. She's been a principal in her resume. Marcus Uzel is a current teacher, educator at the charter school in Pender County, and Marjorie Graham. She's a current she retired 30 years from the middle school. And she's back teaching now. She's a certified special needs teacher in the Bladen County public school system. And we have Louise Lonan here, who could give her.
I'm Ms. Lonan, and I am a homeschool parent. I homeschooled 4 of my children. 3 of them got graduated. My last one graduated at 16. I'm so happy she's graduated. One more to go. And I am also a substitute teacher in New Hanover County Schools. I also did substitute teaching in Prince George's County Schools in Maryland and Washington, D.C. I am a journalism major from Winston-Salem State University, and I also did graduate studies at University of Maryland in College Park. And I had the opportunity to do some major work in higher education at that time. And my mother actually was on the school board in New Hanover County for many years, and I was able to really learn a lot from her and watch some of the sacrifices that had to go into the public education arena. And I was able to go with her when she went to the North Carolina, to Washington, D.C., when she addressed the National School Board. But in any case, also, she is from Bladen County. And our roots are, actually, I lived in New Hanover County, I now live in Bladen County, and it gives me a lot of pleasure to know that we'll be able to hopefully take some of those things right back to where she came from and where my roots are. So that is my background. That's part of my background. I know I'm missing something that I really want to say, but you'll probably ask me a little bit, and I'll just mention that.
Okay, thank you very much for coming. All right, the Performance Committee. We'll open it up for discussion.
So I understand with the area, the emphasis for an agriculture curriculum. Mr. Tucker, can you give me a better understanding of what this instructional plan would look like with the emphasis on agriculture?
It would be based on the National Agricultural Curriculum.
And I'm not familiar with that, so can you fill me in on that? I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm being sincere. When I first began teaching, I was in an area in Gold, which is very similar to it's going down that way. And I was teaching poultry and something else to middle school students because for them, one, getting them to be able to graduate from school was going to be a major feat, and then teaching them skills that they were going to be able to go directly into a job So I understand the importance for the area, but I guess my concern is, when I taught it, it was a middle school, so it was very, you went to that class, so it wasn't infused. If it's my understanding from the application, this is something that's gonna be infused throughout the core subjects. So I would like to know what that looks like. And being that Bladen is not the only county that will be targeted, we're also targeting Brunswick and New Hanover. They are those counties are very different from Bladen County, so.
There was an oversight, we meant to add Pender County and Columbus County.
Pender and Columbus.
That was mentioned in the when I saw it, I said, wow, we didn't add that in the application. But those are rural counties. And they're
Yeah,
closer
Pender is
to-
more like Bladen
Right, exactly, and
so is
Columbus as
Columbus.
well.
and Columbus.
Columbus as well, and they're right there on the tip. So those were the main ones that we was oversight and not adding them to the application. But everything can be taught, every subject can be taught using agriculture. Math is used in agriculture. You're dealing with numbers, with planting, measurements, that kind of thing. Science, chemicals.
Science for sure.
Right.
But I'm just wondering, is there a specific, I know you mentioned the National Agricultural Literacy Curriculum, but yeah, I'm just unfamiliar with that.
I'm not really thorough with it as well, but I know it's official. It's used nationwide, and we thought that we would,
So your EMO has experience with this curriculum, if they're gonna be supporting, your teachers and they're going to be providing professional development, do they have familiarity or expertise, with this agriculture?
no.
Mike, we're clarifying the counties. Is it true then that you intend to draw about 55 students from New Hanover County, or will that number change?
That number, it may, well, if we can, yes, but our focus would be primarily the counties a little closer, because New Hanover County right now has, if I'm not mistaken, 6 charter schools,
They have a lot.
something like that. And so that wouldn't really be, that would be one of these folks, we draw from wherever they would like to come, we would serve them, of course, we would be there to serve.
It seems like that would be about an hour drive for a student, one way.
Yes, New Hanover County, that's about 30 minutes from that location.
From your location.
Yes, it is 30 minutes to Williams.
Okay. And I don't want to put you on the spot either, but this is a new kind of concept for me. Can you explain what agricultural mastery would look like? Because that is in your mission statement.
It's, it's mastery for all students, but mastery, again, because agriculture is involved in every subject. So we just use agriculture as the key word. But that's really for every subject we want mastery. But we focus on agriculture due to the rural area that we're in and the component of agriculture that we would like to add and to develop the children in.
Can you tell maybe why in the academic goals it does not mention agricultural literacy at all, or how it would be measured?
Well, I mean, if that's it's going to be a national agricultural curriculum, it's going to be added into it. It would be,
Let me encourage you that, because there were some things like that in the application. I think this is a great idea. I do, especially in this area of the state, because I've traveled out there too. With Columbus County and the 74 corridor, and I know Bladen's just above Columbus. The fields, I mean, it's great. But if that's going to be in your mission statement and be infused in everything, then it needs to be listed as one of the academic goals, and how would it be measured? So that's an important thing that I think you want to implementing that.
And that's something, if we were to get access to the next energy,
Uh-huh.
and then 2 years away, we would have time to really to perfect that piece.
Mhm. And I appreciate that.
Yes.
I think that's good. You talked about in one of the goals that you were gonna be exceeding the performance composite of the LEA. Do you know what the LEA composite is? I'm not sure what that is. But you said that it would be 5 percentage points more. I wasn't sure, but I know it's lower. Yeah, maybe you would know.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, do we know, you said that in the application that it was gonna be 5 percentage points higher than the LEA. Do you know what the performance,
I believe it's in Appendix O.
okay, appendix O?
And if you look at it, you can see what the surrounding schools are, how they're performing. I think it's in
Okay.
there.
Which one?
Appendix O. And that may be more of a clarification question there.
Mr. Tucker, how will you train your teachers to be prepared to deliver curriculum that's agriculturally based?
We would get the professional trainers in to come and really get the extra training.
Have you identified any of those or any materials?
No, we have nothing outside of the National Agriculture Curriculum.
You did provide the link, and it's very comprehensive. It would be a lot for even teachers who are, you know, highly qualified and certified in their subject area. It would be a lot to be equipped to deliver that curriculum, and you want to look very closely at what you provide in professional development if you want to follow through on your mission.
Yes.
And could you tell us a little about the surveys that were sent out to parents and how many were sent and what kind of response rate you received and if you feel like it's adequate for the 220 enrollment for the first?
Well, it was like 2 months out of the deadline for the applications going when we started sending surveys out. So the number that we got was significantly less than what we were the target. You know, I think it was between the 80 and 100. But we could have gotten much more than that. It was a time factor. But the response was very good. Very inspired because there's a school there. Bladen County schools are just a lot of them are having a lot of hardships, especially the one there, the elementary school there locally now. So down to it was a K through 8 grade down to 4 grades. You know, and they're forecasting that it's not, you know, in a few years from now we may not even be there. These are some of the talk in that area. So the responses that we were getting from the community was overwhelming. It was something that they were looking forward to, that they would love to have their children come to, their families, friends, and whatnot. So it was very supportive.
And can you just clarify for me, did you say 80 to 100 that you received or 80 to 100 that you sent?
There were 8, if I'm not mistaken, it was around 80 that we received.
Received.
Or
And
turned in.
do you know how many were sent?
A little over 100. So, like I said, the time span was short that we had to get them in.
Thank you.
Our data showed 68, and only 44% of those were from Bladen, so that's less than 30. So,
I have some concerns that were on the same applications with the $20,000 for free and reduced lunch for the economically disadvantaged. And it looks like you're looking at having a high percentage of economically disadvantaged students.
Yes, ma'am.
With just $20,000 in the
sense.
in the lunch as a concerning to me. And then also, your planning on the scope and sequence was very much like the art school, except the only difference was the agriculture infusion, which was just in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And yet, the scope and sequence, it was just in the 6th and 7th, 8th grade. However, the daily schedule had agriculture from 12:45 on, the rest of the afternoon. Can Can you kind of explain to me what that might look like? And that may be a clarification, but it's important to me because this is so similar to the other application, except it's just, instead of arts, it's agriculture.
Well, I mean, that's a projection, but that 3 hours, it's 3 hours. It could be spaced out, you know, throughout the day. That wouldn't necessarily have to be in that time period. You know, the last 3 hours of the day, it could be spaced out. But again, the agriculture piece, you know, it's all the subjects that deal, you know, can be related to agriculture. You know, it's not necessarily, okay, we're getting in, you know, in the dirt and you know, and planting and all the cultivating and all that. But, you know, we just want to draw and develop literacy for the children of agriculture with the food crisis in this country, not only in this country, but globally, you know. But all of I mean, you know, it's a major crisis, as we all know.
Right.
We just thought that it would be great, something to really add into children at that young age.
I think that we like the emphasis on the agriculture. We appreciate that you're gonna to make that a focus, especially for, I mean, that certainly meets the needs of the students in your area. But I think the issue is that when you state that you're gonna do something that's very specific like that, you need to have all the minutia hammered out. How are you training those teachers? How does that look in the math class? How does it look in the English class? And then with the schedule, it's like the first 4 hours of the day, they're going to get core instruction. They're reading their math, their social studies, science. And then the last 3 hours of the day is hands-on. And I'm not saying that they can't learn with hands-on, because obviously many people learn better by getting in there and doing it. But it's not the way it's in the schedule. It's like that's like the practice time or whatever. So there's not like instruction. So I think we're finding it disconcerting that for almost half the day they're not getting some kind of curriculum or core instruction, that it's, you know, we're building the garden or, you know, raising the pigs, whatever we're doing. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand. That's something that could be tweaked. You know, we can tweak that. We can get an opportunity for the next interview. I mean, this is like, you know, just the
I know this is the first go.
first interview, and you know, everything is not ironed out perfectly. You know, we give you basically what we, you know, what's an obligation to do. But now that we're getting some counsel from you all, feedback from you all, who are the professionals and whatnot, it can help us now to tweak this thing and get everything the way we need it. That when we come back to the next interview, then we could, I'm sure we could meet the requirements or your concerns.
Right.
You have something you want?
Sure.
Yeah, well, I'm not necessarily the person on the board, but for the our educational person. However, I probably have a little bit, you know, more of an idea because he's not in the area. But in regard to the afternoon that you're talking about, when we talk about the afternoon being project-based, it does not mean that academics will not be included in that. What I have learned from working with students, in particular, I work with Youth Build, which is a federal program where with Patriot Community College, we had the students who, you know, couldn't go to school anymore.
Right.
And we partnered with the construction industry, and that was one of the models that we used. We did our very core curriculum in the morning, and in the afternoon we did do a project base. But even with that, it had supplemental stuff that came along with them while they were doing construction that was curriculum based, or that, you know, involved that, really core kind of instruction. And what we found was that by my working with that project manager, we were able to infuse the two so that it was not just in the morning we do all of the work and then afternoon we just play. You know, because that can kind of get into the students' heads
Right,
that we're
right.
finished with the work, now we're gonna go over here with Ms. Candace and we're just gonna fool around. So what we did was we worked together to make sure that it was not unstructured, if you will.
Thank you.
So that was how we used the project base, and he may not have been really privy to that information with us, but that was what we found, and we were able to graduate more students in that class in that year than they have ever had graduate and get their GED based on that kind of model.
Thank
And
you.
what you just said, I totally agree with. And yet that was not really defined well in the application.
Yes, that's the issue.
And,
I agree.
and it had just, to be determined, was 3 hours a day. And so
I agree.
that was concerning. And the other thing is, in your experience with education too, you've got kindergarten through 8th grade on the same daily schedule.
Yes, I am now more aware of that, and as I said, I'm not the educating coordinator, but that is something that we will, fix. Because we do understand that, the older students and the younger students,
Right.
they really have to have different kinds of, they require different. They just need different, they have different needs. And we are aware of that, and us not having that in it, it's really just kind of a, I guess, function of us being a little bit too general.
Okay. Have you visited a school that is using these national agricultural standards?
Actually, we have not, but we do have plans to. Sankofa is one of the places that we wanted to visit.
What's the name of that one?
Sankofa. That's the name of it, right? Sankofa. It's a farm. Okay, it's a farm, but they have like the kind of education that goes with it. And that was why we chose that. We have not, to my knowledge, I did other schools that are doing that here. However, that is one of our plans to do so and to visit and really get some counsel from them on what it is that makes them be successful.
I'm looking at my time to 11:43. We've got a little bit more time. Any other comments? Let me I'll make a statement and then there's other comments. I want you to know that I really like this concept. I really like it. I think the application needs more work. I think what you've talked about and fleshing that out, that project-based and being very specific that you're putting the agriculture with the academics and how that is infused. So I just don't think the application is ready to go yet. But I want to encourage you that I think this is needed. And I really would like for you to visit some schools that are using these standards and come back and put that in your application, what you've learned that you want to incorporate, what you've learned that you would not want to incorporate, since this is such a major theme of the school. Any other comments?
I agree. Part of the charter school movement is to have innovative schools. And this is certainly an idea that I don't think we've ever had before us with
these standards.
These standards, the National Agricultural Literacy, or the focus on agricultural mastery, because you're trying to prepare your students for what their community is going to be able to offer them when they get out of school. Unfortunately, a lot of rural communities, and I know I'm from one, when our students graduate, if they go to college, they don't come back. So we're training them and then they go away, and then they don't return to be contributing members of our rural communities. And we've seen across the state where a lot of rural communities, the student population is declining, and I think it's because of that. So it's noble that you're trying to offer something to your student population. I hope that you can take our comments and go back and make this a stronger application. Look at the comments that we put on and the reviewers' comments, and go back and tweak those areas and come back to us next year with a stronger application that we'd be ready to approve.
Okay. Can I make a
Sure.
question? Is it possible that we can get to the next interview, and in between now and then, we could make some of those adjustments?
That's a good effort.
That's a
but
good effort. We don't allow that.
Process doesn't allow
The
that, Mr. Tucker.
process is such that you have to, you rise and fall on the application of what you put forward.
This is considered your finished product for this year.
But I think that you can learn from this and come back. I mean, please don't let this be the end at all. What you said as far as the construction industry and what you described there is excellent. I've seen that myself. And it gives the students such marketing skills. I mean, they come out and they've got vision and goals. So,
Being that that's not on the application, that could shut us down for a year.
it can.
And that's something that
There are a
really
lot of-
we can do. I mean, it was just a really more oversight on the application piece. I mean, when you weigh out the application, if that's something that small, I think that's something that could be, should be considered, it's an opportunity to do those things and then have another. If we don't meet the requirements at the next interview, then,
Well, I mean, you're making a great plea. You really are.
That wasn't the only thing.
We have to go with this application, though. We do.
And it's not one small thing, it's multiple things that I think we've identified.
Yeah, the agriculture part is the huge part of it to me. I mean, that's not the little part. That's the big part of the whole infusion of the whole school, the theme of the school. So, is there a motion? Or I'll make one. Y'all made them. I make a motion that we do not move this forward for a full interview.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. Mr. Chair, we do not move this forward for a full interview. It's been properly moved in second, and I move that we do not do that.
All right. All in favor of not moving Beam Academy forward?
Yeah.
Oh, a second.
Oh, you were second?
Second.
Okay, so it's been properly moved to second. Any discussion? Yeah, this
This
is
is
full board.
everybody.
Full board vote. All in favor? All right. All opposed? Mr. Walker, in opposition. All right. All
Please
right,
come
so
back.
next is Clara Science.
Okay.
We'll go right in.
Board members, the next applicant group to appear before you represents Clara Science Charter Academy, which proposes to locate in Mecklenburg County. The projected enrollment is 250 students in grades K through 2 in year 1, 350 students in grades K through 3 in year 2, 450 students in grades K through 4 in year 3, 550 students in grades K through 5 in year 4, and 650 students in grades K through 6 in year 5, at which time the school will be at capacity. The LEA has submitted an impact statement. No due diligence has been requested. The applicant group has not made any special requests. This is a repeat applicant which received a full interview last year. The applicant group has received assistance from Acadia North Star and Adrian Sundiata and Company. The application has been deemed complete.
All right.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us here again today. Clara Science Academy, as you know, has been before you. We're no strangers to you. But I will allow the others to introduce himself. My name is Varsti Mohammed. I have worked in education, stemming from early childhood all the way up to higher education. And we're here trying to bring to you a STEM school in Charlotte area.
Good morning. My name is Omar Muhammad. I'm currently from Charlotte. I worked in the nonprofit industry for about 15 years. I worked for the USDA, and I worked for several financial companies such as GE and Financial and E-Trade. I would like to say I would be remiss if I didn't say this. We send our condolences out to you all for the passing of Mr. Hawk. I had to find out on the website, and I was taken back because I remember him sitting over there with Miss Turner, and then he moved to the other side. And so I sat down there and I said, wow. So I hope that we can see a lot of you in the future. Keep up the health. And Senator Ford, welcome, because you took his spot. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Dr. Ray. I'm here as a board member, board of directors, recently added to the board to provide oversight and resources for the charter school. And so my experiences come from being an assistant principal and an administrator in different roles in CMS, a nonprofit, the Prodigal Son Foundation, adjunct professor, and currently, or as of yesterday actually, the recruiting and sustainability professor at UNCA. So I have a little bit of experience on all RAMs from K-12.
Okay, we can talk about the application a little bit and see if we have any clarification here. I don't know if a whole lot of my questions are clarification questions. I guess two of them are. I'll go with the easy one first. Are y'all building or renting? I think I asked this last year and was still confused.
Okay, my apologies for that. We don't mean to confuse anyone. Our long-term goal is to build. However, going in, we assume that we agreed that we will go ahead and rent at the initial stage. And if we are looking at other several investors who have approached us to build from the ground up. So those things are on the table, yes. I hope that clarifies.
I think it does. It does. And I noticed, I think last year y'all applied for an application, for an accelerated application.
Correct.
This year going on the regular track. The other question that I have deals with the weighted lottery. It said you would use a weighted lottery, but didn't really explain what would be weighted.
Right. So one of the things that we are looking at, that we've looked at, is the area of the population that we're trying to serve. We know that we're serving a low socioeconomic area. However, we want to give the best to students. And during the lottery, we're hoping that we can meet the needs of the area as well as meet the needs of the scholars who really can best serve from the STEM program that we're offering.
So do you know what kind of percentage number you're looking at for, it sounded like the weighted lottery is going to be for economically disadvantaged students.
Correct.
But there was no number like it was going to, we were going to set it at 35 or 40 or whatever it is. Have y'all came up with a number?
We have not came up with the numbers yet. We're still talking with the company that we are looking at to do the weighted lottery. So we're still having some discussions around that in terms of the actual percentage that we want to get the best of the program.
Okay, so you're working with a company that...
Easy
that will help
Lottery.
you, Lotteries?
Yes.
Is that it?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so you're working with them to talk about it. Not really questions. The facility costs are really high. It's there. If we do go to a full interview, I'd like to know, what you changed and improved on the application from last year.
We do have some new board members. We have restructured a little bit where we have added more board members with their K-12 background and more expertise in the area. So they're looking forward to meeting with you, and we hope that you will advance us to an interview where they can have more conversation with you.
Anybody else?
One of my concerns is, last year when you were here, there was a lot of questions that we had regarding the budget, and I saw you did make some changes towards that, but there's still, to me, when I look at the budget, a lot of inconsistencies and questions. So I would have liked to have seen that more streamlined, I guess.
We did seek consultation with Arcadia North Star, and they will be here with us should you advance us to the interview to talk more about the budget and explain it. We know there's some areas in there that you have questions, yes, and we'll be glad to explain that in more detail.
My questions are really probably more interview than clarification, particularly around the data for need.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I'm fine with bringing forward to an interview.
Anybody want to make a motion that we recommend? All right,
I
Mr.
make,
Okay.
I make a motion that we move them forward for a full interview.
All right,
I'll second.
second. Any discussion or debate in the policy committee? All right, all policy committee members in favor? Any opposed? All right, Mr. Chair, on behalf of the policy committee, I move that we bring Clara Science Academy forward for a full interview.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Motion carries. We'll see you for a full interview.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Great.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, in light of the agenda, the other two applicant groups were asked to be here after lunch, expected to arrive around 12:45.
Okay, great. Thank you. Maybe we can start a little earlier.
We could do these amendments. Can we do the amendments?
Yeah. Is it possible that we could do the amendments now? Okay, let's do that.
Somebody leave a phone.
I think that's Mr. McQueen's.
McQueen's.
Let's keep it.
Order some good coffee on it.
All right, let me gather my things here. Okay. Good afternoon. We have several amendments for you today. Let's go ahead and start with Rocky Mount Preparatory. They are seeking an amendment to its mission statement, and this is a school surveying grades K to 12 in Nash County. They submitted an application in 1996, so at that time there was not an express mission statement required, and so they are basically proposing a mission statement now, which is the mission of Rocky Mount Preparatory School is to educate, equip, and empower each scholar to excel academically by providing equitable learning opportunities and collaborating with families and communities.
Move we recommend approval of the mission statement.
I move that we recommend approval.
Second.
Second.
This is a simple second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the next one is a weighted lottery amendment. This is for Bonnie Cone Classical Academy. They recently just, they have an amendment pending before State Board to partner with Charter One after splitting from Team CFA. But they are also going to be a recipient of the NC Access Grant, and so they are proposing a weighted lottery for at least 40% economically disadvantaged children.
Move we recommend approval.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Joel? Yes. Gotcha.
All right. We have another weighted lottery request. This is Community Public Charter School, and they opened this year in Gaston County, serving grades K to 5. They are also a recipient of an NC Access grant and are seeking a weighted lottery with a goal of 35% economically disadvantaged students.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right. All in favor? All right.
All right. one is the Robert J. Brown Leadership Academy. They were approved to open this upcoming fall in Guilford County, and they have decided to relinquish its charter.
I move that we accept it.
Second.
Properly moved in second.
Do we have details on why, Ashley?
Yes, they, I believe they were having some issues with funding and finding a facility, and then there was the management company that they had partnered with, or I'm not sure if it was a management company, but they were partnering with Paul Norcross. That split, and so they said that that kind of led them to not have the ability to open.
Weren't they the people that were gonna locate on the same, with another school on the same ground or something?
No, it was,
No.
that was,
But it was a historical.
that
That
was
one's
next
closed too.
generation.
Yeah, that was the male cat,
Yeah.
similar.
And
Robert J.
and the
Brown
Mail
was
Academy.
based on
Legacy.
Mr. Brown's legacy, and they were actually gonna
Do wraparound
use
services.
It was in an old school, yeah, Brentwood
Historical.
Elementary. Yeah.
Historical.
historical school there.
It says in their letter, it says the board knew it would be impossible to raise the required funding to continue with the purchase of Brentwood School, the school building, and we agreed we should not continue to pursue development. They said after they split with the CMO that they just didn't feel like they could do it.
Is Norcross part of the CMO?
So moved.
All right, any discussion on the motion? All right. All in favor? All right, done and done.
The final amendment is Movement School East, and they are approved to open this upcoming fall in Mecklenburg County. They have been awarded an NC Access grant as well, and they are seeking to decrease their enrollment. And they're making a few changes to their educational plan. So they anticipated, and they are in a delayed year. So next year will technically be year 2 in the charter. And they anticipated opening with K to 3. They are now seeking to open with K and 1 only, and a total of 190 students. So about a 110 student decrease. And they said that with the grant award, they would be able to make that work funding-wise. And then they are making a few changes to their educational plan, which is really tailored for English language learners, and they are switching a little bit of what they were doing. They were doing sheltered instructional observation protocol, and now they are focusing more on WIDA. And then they are doing, implementing components of the Relay Graduate School of Education's approach to instruction. So those are just 2 changes that they're implementing.
So there'll be 190 students?
Yes,
Okay.
the first year.
Will this impact their funding, Jay, from Access Grant?
No.
All right,
Move we recommend approval.
I have to recuse on this one.
let
I'll
the record
second.
show. All right, all in favor? Please note Ms. Turner's recusal. All right,
All right, that is,
We did that.
those are the amendments.
okay, we are ready for our special recognition. Let's all put away our laptops because we have we have our students here. Let's make sure to pay attention on this and show our respect for the children.
I will as soon as Dave sits down.
We've done the last 2 Charter School Advisory Board meetings. We're trying to highlight the great things that are going on out in the field, and it's my pleasure to introduce Lincoln Charter School and the relationship that they developed with Cherokee High School up in Cherokee, North Carolina. The letter that I passed out is a letter that we got from the principal at Cherokee High School, talking about the relationship that Cherokee High and Lincoln Charter School have developed over the years. I'm not going to read everything, but I do want to start it where the principal starts off. Says, I met Daniel Schmitz, athletic director at Lincoln Charter, in March of 2016 when our men's basketball team met in the 1A West Regional semifinals. Daniel was extremely accommodating leading up to the game, making a venue shift in consideration of our large fan base, and I remember that call very well. And he goes on to say that when a couple of Lincoln Charter School students were walking into the gym playing Cherokee High School, they had two students that were dressed in mock Indian gear. The principal was very concerned about how inappropriate that was, said something to Mr. Schmitz, and then the next conversation, maybe several months later, realized, well, those students never did go inside the gym, and shows how responsive that Mr. Schmitz was. The principal also goes on and talks about how wherever they go, they hear discriminatory chants, such as we heard chants USA, 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 in other venues like they're not part of this country. And I think Mr. Smith, Mr. Bryant, and Lincoln Charter School has just done an excellent job fostering this relationship. So as they kept playing each other in sports, the principal, the athletic director, and Lincoln Charter School fostered a relationship and decided it would be really neat if the students could go up and visit and have some cultural exchange. So I don't want to read this entire letter or steal the thunder from Lincoln Charter School, but we've invited Mr. Bryant, the chief administrator, the athletic director, Daniel Smits, the volleyball coach, Hughes, yeah, I should remember that, and the seniors that are on the team. We're going to come up and talk to you about that experience and how they're, how it affected the students and how it affected the students at Cherokee High School and how they intend to have increase this relationship in all sports. Sorry,
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I basically, and all of you as charter leaders know that as a leader, you're only as good as your team. And so I'm really here to just introduce my team and not take any credit for the incredible things that they're doing. But let me tell you a little bit about Lincoln Charter for those of you who may be unfamiliar. We were founded in 1998 as a college prep option in Lincoln County. We are unique because we have two campuses, one on opposite ends of the county, that were started back in the old CAP, for those of you who remember those days. And so we have a K-12 campus in Denver. We have a K-12 campus in Lincolnton, which is a little bit of a unique dynamic. About 2,175 kids. I think as of the last check, we were the largest non-virtual charter school in the state because of that K-12 dynamic and having two campuses. 100% of our teachers are highly qualified. We have high 90s percentage of our teachers who are licensed. 100% of our building administrators are licensed. 1 in 4 of our staff members have been with us for 10 plus years. Last year, we documented over 17,000 service hours. Service is a cornerstone of our school, not just with regard to what we're doing in the classroom with service learning, but also in partnerships with the community, which ties in really nicely and dovetails with what you're about ready to hear from our folks. And every year we survey our staff, we survey our parents and get their perspective on various aspects of the school. And one of the consistent highlights that we see on that survey is 100% of our staff agree that LCS is a contributing asset to the community, which again is something that ties in with what you're about to hear from our team. So thank you for having us. We love to celebrate what we do, and a lot of this is a dedication to the hard work from our folks. So appreciate you having us today.
How's everybody doing?
Great.
I'm Dan Schmitz. I'm the athletic director at Lincoln Charter School. I get to talk to you a little bit about our athletic department. One of the statements I hear a lot is athletics is a window into a school, and so I take that to heart. And a lot of the things we promote, whether it's learn, serve, and engage, character development, a lot of times they can be words, but when you put them in action or let the kids put those in action, some amazing things happen. So a little bit behind that story, we were able to connect with Cherokee High School based on a conversation about not being welcome at certain places. And Lincoln Charter School has been very successful in sports, and sports is very emotional and emotion driven. And so having charter school in our name sometimes brings negative connotations. People think you hear the word recruiting, or you hear it's a private school, why are we playing them? And I sat next to the principal, and one of the things she said is, we just don't feel welcome at places. And it connected. I said, you know, some of our kids feel that way too. Well, what can we do? And she said, well, we've offered to have people come to our school, visit our classes. She even offered to have us serve their elders, which is something we weren't able to do at this time. But I told her, I said, if you're going to offer this, we're going to do it. And thankfully, the volleyball coach was right next to her. And our volleyball coach, who you're going to meet, Lauren, here in a second, was right next to me. And we all connected and we talked. And thankfully, their hard work came together to organize it. And so breaking down those barriers of misconceptions is what we do in education, right? And so to connect with their principal and then their athletes and their coaches, and see that we might live hours away, but we have a lot of the same interests. The history of the Cherokee people, to have the kiddos be able to be involved in that, see that a couple conversations turned into a great experience for our student athletes. And you know, we pride ourselves in our leadership, our character, our service, and we started a student athlete advisory council that interacts with our captains and our coaches to promote service learning throughout the whole school year. So from our cheerleading teams to our baseball teams to basketball, tennis, we want them all to be involved in our community, leading projects that help our community and connect us with people. And so this is one of those things that kind of morphed into that after a few conversations, and obviously a passionate principal and a really wonderful person from Cherokee. The conversation turned into the situation we have now. And our girls are going to talk a little bit about our experience, and at the end, this is actually stemming into involving ourselves with other schools, and traveling not only west but east, visiting other schools to get to know them and see what they do differently, how they do it, and let them get to know us as Lincoln Charter School. So, Coach Hughes.
So yeah, just piggybacking off of Daniel, after we started talking at a basketball game, Coach Swimmer, the volleyball coach, and I were like, we were just shocked that they invite schools all the time to come see them, and nobody takes them up on their offer. So I'm sitting there with my assistant coach. I was like, we're in. Like, come bring us. We want to learn. And so that stemmed into a 6-month conversation of how can we get the girls together, what can we do to facilitate not only some kind of team bonding, but really learning, because they're very proud of their culture and their heritage, and how we can more educate our girls as well, so that way, you know, a couple years ago at that basketball game, we don't have anything like that happen again, and just try to make sure that everyone's on the same page and facilitate a good relationship. So we talked for a few months, and then we were able to, we wanted to do the program where we would serve the elders in the community, but unfortunately that didn't work out this year. We're hoping in the next couple of years we can do that as well. But we planned a 2-day trip up there. The girls got to go out on a Friday. They'll talk more about what all we got to do, but go shadow classes, visited the Indian village right next to their school, learn from them, and just have a lock-in with the girls and really form bonds that now they still talk regularly. They're planning, we're hoping to bring them to Lincoln Charter next year and do some service projects as well, and try to facilitate that relationship that we can continue on for the next couple of years.
Oh, hi. So when we first arrived at Cherokee, they were very welcoming, very with open arms, and they invited us to shadow a class, their language class. And so we did, and when we walked in, they were, all the students stood up and gave us our seats, which they didn't have to, but like a part of their culture, they like just love to welcome people. So we did, and one of the things that we did was we learned different phrases and sayings, like shillelagh, which is squirrel in Cherokee, and like greetings like Shiloh, which means hello, and also we went over like the days of the week in Cherokee and like the months in the year, and then when we were done, we played a game as a class, like with the students, and they were helping us, and
But you did good.
My name's Maddie. So the second day, that Saturday morning, we went to like a Cherokee Village replica. And there we got to learn about like their weapons and how they like made them, and like we got to see the evolution of their houses. So as like time progressed, like how more advanced they got. And I like to see like in their school, like they had a basket weaving class, and how like they still teach their like students like the same ways that their ancestors did. So they kind of keep their heritage with them throughout. So when we got to Cherokee, they were open arms, and they were so like welcoming to us, and we really built relationships with them through like eating lunch and dinner with them. We really got to get to know them, and as we were like walking around the school and shadowing, they really like wanted to offer us like full experience and really get to know us. So we had similar interests, and being able to like scrimmage in volleyball, we got to share our love for volleyball with them.
So this picture was actually kind of cool because this is the day that we played Cherokee in basketball. The game that Mr. Smith was talking about, how we were actually at North Lincoln, but that was our student section for the game. So what we want to do with this Cherokee trip is we want to take it back to our school and our other sports teams. We also represent a bunch of other sports teams like basketball, soccer. Our basketball team is going to go to Cherokee this year, I believe, and we're also going to take like the soccer team to another high school so that we can appreciate other cultures, not just our own. And so we have community expectations at Lincoln Charter, and so we want to make sure to incorporate those in everything that we do. And so empathy and respect are two of them, and so we want to make sure that we take them to our sports teams as well as our student sections, not just people that play sports, but every single person at our school should be learning about this trip and learning about the things that we learned in the culture and the heritage so that we respect all people. We're also having captains and coaches meetings with all the sports teams to promote this and make sure that we stay on top of this all week. Do you have any questions? So my name is Allison Tennessee. I'm a senior. I want to be in the Navy when I grow up, so I
That would be next year.
Yes, but like in college, I either want to go to the Naval Academy or Virginia Tech and do NRCC.
Cool. Awesome.
I'm Maddie, and I would like to go to like State or Clemson. Those are my dream schools.
Clemson's an awesome school.
I love that campus, and I want to go into computer science, like further go into cybersecurity.
I'm Hannah Hansley, and two of the top schools I'm thinking about is ECU or UNC Charlotte, and I would like to be a sports medicine doctor or a pediatric doctor.
Awesome.
I'm Grace Kafka, and I will be graduating with my Associates of Arts. So I plan to major in criminal justice and minor in psychology to be in the SBI, and I hope to go to Luna Ryan.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you for coming and sharing. We we're familiar somewhat with Lincoln Charter,
Somewhat.
but and know that it's an outstanding school. But I think there's one thing to be outstanding, to win a lot of trophies, and to have an outstanding school grade or good finances or lots of students, which are all the things that we want to make sure all schools have. But to know that you're living out the school's values, you can articulate those, and then you can actually live those out in a very authentic type of way, and that this kind of experience that you've had is what it really means to live those values out, and it means a lot more than all the trophies in the case. So thank you for sharing. We really appreciate it. And hopefully you come up and take a picture with us. Yeah. Thank you.
Another photo op. Hi, girls.
Nice background too.
these tall volleyball players. We had the
You guys come right in front here, I guess. We're in between, I guess.
We'll get in between there.
I'm gonna stay on my tippy toes. Dave, Mr. Machado, I think you need to join us.
They are. All right, here we go. You gonna get in there, Dave?
Hustle up, Dave.
Y'all just won the, congrats on winning the state championship in cross country.
Wow.
It was on Saturday.
2 years in a row, huh?
Boys team.
All right, here we go. Taking a few. All right, gotcha.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Great story. Great experience. Thank you for what you're doing.
Hey, man, around here, huh? You gotta drive back in this afternoon. You gotta take your time. Be careful. You bring a school bus? What do you bring? All the best.
How are you?
So you.
It's all about the testing of the adults.
So that's why she wasn't getting
Well, you emailed me some things, so tricky.
It looks like it's gonna be all rain.
My train is coming from Georgia.
It's gonna be so cold.
And that too.